Hey everyone. Today we're going to take a look at mental illness and how the media has a lot of the times misrepresented, stretched, oversimplified, or just kind of gotten it wrong sometimes. So, first off, don't just call someone suffering from mental illness of one form or another crazy. You know, they're not crazy or psycho or weird or whatever you want to say. It has many, many shapes and sizes, and no two people are the same, even if they've been diagnosed with the same type of disorder. Depression for me would be different from depression for you. Same thing with OCD for me would be different from OCD from you. And from a disorder like OCD or PTSD and bipolar or schizophrenia or a combination of more than one of them put together in the same person, because that is a common thing as well. Um, you or someone you aren't crazy, just a little unwell. And, there's hope for that. There's help for that. There's treatment out there for all of it. Um, no matter what you're feeling or dealing with, never be afraid to seek help or try to get some treatment or just speak up about it. Let a loved one or a friend know that you're feeling some type of way. No one's hopeless or helpless, and no one is untreatable. So, I've got a couple different movies and a couple different shows right here where it's kind of the different forms of the mental illnesses in them are misrepresented in one way or another. One of them you can take a look at is the movie A Beautiful Mind. It's based on a real story about a guy named John Nash, where this movie talks about his life from him being a grad student through, his work in cryptography and eventually him getting a Nobel Prize. You it kind of dives into his paranoia as he gets really involved in decrypting in all these encrypted telecommunications and whatnot, and he's eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia. While showing, the movie talks about the negative symptoms of schizophrenia, and, that is important, the mental illness is really exaggerated in the film. For example, you know, visual hallucinations are one of John's primary symptoms where, John Nash in real life never had any hallucinations, and, also, he ignores his doctor's advice to receive therapy and medication at the end of the film, and he instead manages his symptoms purely through his own belief in himself and through the support of his wife. Now, this really oversimplifies the treatment process for a mental illness as serious as schizophrenia. Okay? The same would go for the movie Me, Myself, and Irene, where it shows schizophrenia as Carrey's character really becoming an entirely different person and kind of flip-flopping back and forth between the two. And even though in the movie it kind of does depict that he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, um, the diagnosis don't match the exaggerated performance of the illnesses. I mean, yeah, I know it's supposed to be a comedy. We all know that, but it's a really inaccurate portrayal of DID and schizophrenia. And then, you can also look at the show Monk for an example of the media making it seem like people with OCD are really neat freaks and they can't handle germs and stuff like that. When I know a couple people that have OCD that are not afraid to get down and dirty. Um, and then you can take a look at 13 Reasons Why, where it deals with depression, and it's really oversimplified how depression is. It, all of these are multifaceted, and, with depression, one thing doesn't cause 100% of your depression. Oftentimes, a lot of things add up to your core reasoning for your depression. And the show kind of barely gets into what a mental illness really is, depression, and it kind of just tries to gloss over all of it with bullying's bad. And it's not really a good representation of what depression is. So, after taking a look at some misrepresentations of of mental illness in media, what exactly is it? The American Psychological Association defines a mental illness or mental disorders as a major disturbance in an individual's thinking, feelings, or behavior that reflects a problem in mental function. Okay? Now, mental illnesses are health conditions. Mental illnesses can be associated with distress or problems functioning in social work, family matters, just everyday life, like more than 1 in 5 people have a diagnosable mental illness or disorder, 1 in 20 have a serious one, and more than 1 in 6 have a substance use disorder, like addiction to alcohol or drugs or something like that. Mental illness is a treatable condition. All of them are treatable. The vast majority of individuals with a mental illness continue to function in daily life. Like, if they didn't tell you, you'd never know that they have a mental illness. So that's another reason why it's misrepresented in the media, is they make it seem like, oh, that person's got some kind of issue. You can tell. So again, why the stereotype? A lot of lack of understanding what the mental illnesses are, what's really going on with the person, and people tend to fear what they don't understand. If you find out someone has schizophrenia, you're more likely to be more skittish around them because you think they're just going to flip out at any given moment and, change who they are. Also, we have a long history of the wrong idea about mental illness or people that deal with a mental disorder, from all the way back when asylums were very crude places, or even like an eating disorder. If you had a disorder where you didn't want to eat, or you were bulimic or something like that, that is an eating disorder. You were tossed into a mental asylum like you were crazy or possessed by the devil or what have you. So, all of the years of these messages being portrayed as anybody dealing with any type of mental issue is crazy, or they're a whack job, or they're just weird, or they're dangerous, is what has led to this giant stereotype about mental illnesses. So what can we do to beat this stigma and kind of represent it better and not give in to this stereotype? You can learn your facts about it. If you are dealing with something, or someone has a mental illness, and you're wondering what you can do to help, or what is it, what have you, look it up, do some research, know your facts. Don't be afraid to talk about it if it's something that you're dealing with. Some people that are dealing with them don't want to talk about them to everybody. They just, if they have treatment, they deal with that, and then that's it. But, if you can talk openly about it, you can better understand it. Treat mental and physical health equally. They're all issues with health. You can reach out to people if you need help, if you know someone that needs help, if you know somebody that knows more than you do about it. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't believe everything you hear and see in the media. That's the big one. Don't play into the stigma and the stereotype. Be different. You need to beat it. So, in a conclusion, nobody with a mental illness is crazy, and everybody can get help. Thanks for listening. And here's a list of references if anybody wants to check anything out. Thanks again.